microorganisms that cause disease consume us from the inside out. The human body is the food that fuels their rapid-fire reproduction. Some bacteria can reproduce 1 million times more quickly than we do. These microscopic predators have cast a long, dark shadow on our history. The bacteria that caused tuberculosis riddled the bodies of Egyptian nobles over 4,000 years ago. Another microbe spawned the dreaded Black Death. In the 14th century, bubonic plague killed 1 in 3 Europeans. The influenza virus claimed some 20 million lives on the heels of World War I. We were virtually defenseless against infectious disease until recently.
This is a battlefield in man's total war against disease. Here, man has locked his heaviest artillery against premature death. Antibiotics, the miracle drugs of our time.
In the 20th century, scientists began to focus on the chemicals that microbes produce to attack each other. Perhaps some of these compounds would kill disease organisms without harming the human body. The first so-called antibiotic, penicillin, saved countless lives in World War II. Now doctors had a weapon to fight the infections that commonly killed soldiers wounded on the battlefield. By the 1950s, hundreds of antibiotics were on the market. Defeating deadly germs seemed like child's play. In 1969, the U.S. Surgeon General declared it was time to close the book on infectious disease. He spoke too soon. The Russian prison system is ground zero of a new epidemic. An old killer is back with a vengeance. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia's incarceration rate has soared to the highest in the world. More than 1 million inmates are confined to a penal system designed for a fraction of that number. But overcrowding, poor nutrition, and scant sanitation are not the worst of a prisoner's nightmares. Now, tuberculosis stalks these men. The bacteria that cause TB can lie dormant for decades in a healthy person. But if the immune system is weakened, the microbes begin to multiply and consume the lungs.
Prisoners are malnourished. Many of them are alcoholics. Many of them are smokers. And just the stress of being in prison, all these factors together make you very, very susceptible to probably not only being infected with TB, but also coming down with active disease.
When a person with active TB coughs or even speaks, he expels contagious droplets that linger in the air for hours. The next victim needs only to inhale to be infected. At least 100,000 inmates have active TB, but antibiotics are in short supply. Many men will die before their terms are up. Sasha Bilyevich is serving time for his second burglary conviction in Tomsk, a city in western Siberia. His 4-year term now seems like a death sentence.
I never thought I'd be infected. I never gave it much thought. At first, I didn't believe what the doctor told me. I thought that maybe it was any other illness, but not tuberculosis.
Diagnosed during his first prison term, Sasha was given antibiotics. He improved, but after his release, he stopped getting treatment. Now his TB is back, but the same drugs cannot cure him. The microbes in his body have evolved. When Sasha first took antibiotics, the drugs killed off most of the TB bacteria. But when his treatment stopped, it left some microbes alive, the ones that were most resistant to the drugs. As these survivors multiplied, all their offspring acquired that same resistance. An entirely new strain of bacteria evolved, untreatable with standard drugs. Sasha is now beyond help by prison doctors. He's not alone. At least 30,000 Russian inmates have multi-drug resistant TB, and their numbers are growing.